What up, y'all? Appreciate you showing up, hanging out, listening to my dumb ass. Like and subscribe. So, this news came yesterday. And the thing about yesterday was that I did the video before the news came out. So I was like, oh man, should I do another video and be like, ooh, ooh? But I was like, you know what? Nah, there's no rush because literally, it's no rush. Mainly because Concord's dead. No, wait, Concord is dead already. So how is it possible that Concord could die twice? It happened. How is it possible that Sony can kill Concord twice? It happened. How is it possible that Herman Holtz is so bad at his job that the camera is about to faint because the camera does not realize, doesn't believe it. The camera's like, That's what happened. That's what just happened. Did you see the camera faint? Now the camera's nodding off. Do you understand what's going on right now? This is because of Concord. Concord, there are like no words to describe. I mean, there are words. But this has never happened this way in the industry before. Right? You got games that are canceled. Most of the time, we don't even know. We don't know a lot of the information. So it's like, oh yeah, we were working on a game, but it never came out. Like we saw the leak footage of Halo on the game on the DS or something, right? I was like, oh okay, that looks not good, but it's Halo on the DS. It's like, why would you do this? Because we were bored and we whatever. Was it ever gonna come out? Probably not. But programmers, devs, devs gonna dev, they want to see what's possible. Well, we know what's impossible right now is that Concord being a game that people play in the future. Nope, not gonna happen. They canceled it so hard that it's in the grave. They had one foot in the grave. They chopped the foot off. Foot's gone. Now it's a ghost. It's not in limbo anymore. They put it to pasture. They went up to the farm and said, Jimmy, oh yeah, I gotta go I'll be right back. You know what I'm saying? And the worst part is that, we don't like it when people lose their jobs, obviously. But I mean, we saw the writing on the wall, like we as in the regular general public and the people, the public who know a little bit about something, right? So I'm hearing Colin Murray talk about $400 million, blah, blah, blah. And then people are like, no, it's not that. And it's like, oh, but that doesn't include the cost of the studio. Then it's like, but I thought it did because I was listening to Luke Stevens. He's my recent favorite guy. And he was like, well, because he has a degree in corporate finance, I believe. So he knows about money. He knows about corporate money. So he was like, well, it could be that the $200 million Sony paid $200 million for, that was the initial cost that was reported that Firesprite or whatever they were called before that paid up until that point. But what Luca was saying is that the $200 million plus whatever it was is the cost of the assets and all that. So technically, sure, it's about the assets, the time of the assets, the cost of the assets in the game as it was at that point. Then Sony put another $200 million, $400 million plus. Then they say, well, it's not including the actual cost of the studio, but it kind of is a little bit because creating those assets costs money and time, and that's what the $200 million was for, and that's what Sony paid that plus another two. So we'll just call it 4. Might be a little bit more than 4, but let's round it to 4. Anyway, so Sony, Herman Holtz comes out and he's like, I mean, basically it was the same exact statement that they had put out when they had took Concord off the market and gave everybody their money back. It's like, it's literally the same carbon copy. Just copy that and then we'll put some extra paragraphs on the end. And I'm like, seriously? And this is his baby? This was his baby? I mean, right now it's dead. They said they're putting it to no, they didn't say put it to pasture. They're sunsetting it. I believe that was the verbiage. And so they're sunsetting the game. Game's done, dead. It's dead, deader than dead. And they're closing the studio. And I'm like, okay, hold up. Here's my problem with this whole situation. Besides Concord being trash and all that stuff, the part of it being trash is not so much the skill level of the actual devs, because you look at it and you're like, yo, that facial animation is pretty nice, it's dope. I don't like the characters and how they look, but that has nothing to do with the actual technical prowess. Anyway, the technical skills of the devs, right? It has nothing to do with that. What was wrong with the game had nothing to do with the skills of the devs. It had to do with everything else. Story, characters, design, and the DEI agenda, if you want to call it that. I think I need to come up with a different terminology for injecting that type of stuff in, because there's nothing inherently wrong with DEI as a concept, because Overwatch has DEI in it, but it's not, people don't think about it that way, because what shines through in Overwatch, I always use Overwatch as an example, but what shines through in Overwatch is gameplay and aesthetics and just everything. You look at it and you're like, that looks cool, I want to play as that character. Those words never come out of anyone's mouths when they look at Concord. They don't say, that's my favorite character. They say, I hate all these characters. I don't like them all. They look hard. I don't like them. And like I said again, technically they don't look horrible. They're just ugly, if that makes sense. Like, you see a real person in real life, ugly person. A real person in real life, beautiful supermodel. You can be like, well, this person's ugly, this person's a supermodel, I like to look at the supermodel. That's just me. I mean, maybe I'm shallow. Call me Shallow Hal. But that's kind of how the world works a little bit. A little bit of the world works like that. And so when you make a game full of ugly people, it's a problem. And the thing is that I don't understand. This is what I don't understand. I include diversity, but whatever, right? But people are diverse, and you can include them and all that stuff, right? And be beautiful too. And you're like, oh, but beautiful is, and then the characters inside. Yes, that's true, but we're talking about games. We're talking about entertainment here. You go to Hollywood, and there's a few people who are ugly, quote unquote ugly. Like, you look at Steve Buscemi, right? He's not classically attractive. His teeth are going all the other which way, right? I don't have perfect teeth. Everybody has crooked teeth, well, most people. But that kind of, his teeth and his acting basically kind of formed who he is as an actor and his kind of work. And he never fixed his teeth. At least I haven't seen him in a while, so maybe he had. But in all his movies, his teeth are all crooked and messed up and whatever. But that's Steve Buscemi. And because it makes him, that kind of gives, like, if you gave one of the characters braces or something, I don't know, just like a humanizing type of quality, yet and still they're beautiful. Like, what's her name? Winnie Harlow. You know, she's the model. She's got vitiligo. She's a she's a black lady, black model, but she's got vitiligo, so she's black and white, brown and white, technically brown and peachy, creamy, whatever. Anyway, so she got vitiligo, and she don't put no makeup on. She's just like, boop, look at me, beep, boop, boop, look at my booty. There's some over there. There's on the elbow. There's on my face. You know, and I'm like, yeah, she's a beautiful lady, regardless of her skin condition. And some people are like, ew, that's disgusting, blah, 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 because, you know, whatever, they're purists of, you know, people are weird. But I'm looking at her, I'm like, she's fine. I don't care about vitiligo. Vitiligo is whatever. Just, you know, got to put some cream on it so you don't get sunburned on them little spots. Like, boop, beep, boop, boop, boop. But, you know, she's a supermodel, and she has a skin condition that is not traditionally correlated with supermodeling. And I'm looking at her, And I'm like, you could have based Homegirl off Winnie Harlow and had the vitiligo, and there would be no problem. Maybe, I don't know. The outfit's kind of messed up too, but whatever. That's all design. That's like one piece of the failure puzzle that is Concord. And the price. Look, we all know it's mute at this point to even discuss why Concord failed. We just know, and we will forever know, that Concord was the biggest failure in PlayStation history / video game history for the type of game that it is. And I'm gonna add to that and say that besides whatever type of history, all games ever created, Concord's the biggest failure, financially the biggest failure. Period. Fight me on. Give me in the comments. Let me know if there's a game that financially failed as hard as Concord did. They gave all the money back that they made. They only made $1 million. Well, they didn't even make $1 million. They could have made $1 million if you want to not include, the percentages and all that stuff for Steam and stuff. They made $1 million, so they didn't make $1 million. But anyway, the point is, they didn't make nothing. Not even that. It could have been $399,092,000 that they had spent instead of $400. Anyway, this is an example of the continuing decline of PlayStation. Now, you look at Concord's failure, colossal failure, ultimate, infinite failure, right? And they shut down the game. They closed the studio. They just bought the studio, and now they closed the studio. Like I said, the skill of the team is not in question because they got skills. But part of it is, like I said, art design, these decisions to have these type of characters that nobody likes, nobody wants. If all the characters in that game were designed in such a way, aesthetically pleasing, and everybody loved every character, blah, 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 then the game would probably be successful. I mean, I don't know if that's the only thing that was wrong with it. I mean, the $40 price. If it was free to play and the characters look good, then Concord wouldn't be not around anymore. But going into the bigger picture of PlayStation and Sony, I was listening to Luke, and he broke it down in a way that only a person who has a degree in corporate finance could. And he said Hiroki Totoki, who is the CFO of Sony, and he has many hats. He's like 3, 4, 5 different things over at Sony / PlayStation. And he said he was discussing. He kind of put it in layman's terms. Basically, he said Hiroki Totoki was like, I'm gonna do an audit. I'm gonna look and see what PlayStation's about because I'm new here. I don't know what's going on. Let's see what you guys are doing. Let's see what the money's looking like. Let's see what the numbers is doing. And he looked at the audit, he looked at all the stuff, and he came back, he was like, what the hell are y'all doing? And so what Luke broke down was, at the point of the generation that Sony is in right now, their margins, their profit margins should be in the realm of, I think he said 12% or something like that. And I was like, okay, I mean, sure, And Hiroki Totoki did his boop, boop, boop. He did his audit, and they found out it's at 6%. And I was like, 6% is low. I don't know if that 12% number, it might have been a higher number. 20%? No, maybe it's 12. But anyway, they were at half, if my 12% is right. They were at half of what they should be halfway through the generation. Which is bad because they need to not be at half. And then you look at it, and it's like why are the margins so low? He's like asking, well, why are the margins so low? I was like, well, you spent $3.7 billion on Bungie, and they're going down too. Their profits are down. It's like we bought them, and we're losing money on their daily operations because And they lost money, subsequently because of Bungie. I said this before. When Bungie said, hey, Spider-Man multiplayer, Last of Us multiplayer, all these multiplayers, they're whack because they're not, and blah, blah, blah. Twisted Metal, that's garbage too. And so they canceled 3, actually 4, the Deviation game that never got titled. They canceled 3 because of Bungie, 4 because whatever. They canceled 4 games before they even came out. Now let's calculate what the production cost was on those 4 unreleased games. That's not including 3.5 billion, not including the 400 million, excuse me. How much money did they spend on those games? How many years were those games in production? Spider-Man, maybe a year, maybe. Last of Us was like, that was like full production, like 6 years or something like that, right? That game was basically done. Twisted Metal, I'm not sure. But you look, we're not getting all the information. We're not getting all the numbers, because if you look at all the numbers and the information, all the loss and all the, firing a studio, yes, your costs go down because you don't have to pay these people anymore. But the initial cost that they spent on them before is just way outweighs, and that's why they closed the studio, because they can't afford to pay these people to not release games. So I'm like, this is a disaster. I just want to make sure that y'all realize this, right? I've never seen a company like be down this bad and still kind of survive, right? It's either like, oh, well, I mean, it reminds me of Sega when they were just oh, let's put a 32X. Oh, let's add on. And they were like, well, we spent all this money, and then they didn't make no money. And guess what? Sega's not making hardware no more. It rains all the time. And so I'm looking at Sony, I'm looking at PlayStation, how they're like basically bleeding money. I mean, this is recent. I mean, I guess this whole generation. And it's like, how are they supposed to maintain? How are they supposed to survive? Okay, first of all, Sony is not the same Sony that it used to be. They're not the PlayStation 4 Sony. They're not the PlayStation 3 going into PlayStation 4 Sony. That's not Sony anymore. Sony is a totally different beast right now. I should be cautious of even calling them a beast, because they're not really beast-like. They're just like a totally different animal. And if this were any other corporation, if this were Nintendo, if this were Xbox, they'd be like, oh, close them down. That's it. It's done. It's over. It's over. We got to close them down, But they're not going to do that. You know why? Because they're cowards. They don't want to see their precious PlayStation being slandered. No, not slandered. But they're in. Look, I know I might hyperbolize a little bit, but Sony is in a bad spot right now. And the worst thing about Sony being in this position is that PlayStation used to be the profit maker for Sony as a whole, as a corporation. They were bringing in that money. Not so much, because Hiroki Totoki's over here like, because remember, he's the CFO of Sony. So that includes PlayStation. That's why all these changes are happening, because Hiroki Totoki's looking at the business model and it's like, nope. So Spider-Man will come out. That might be, look, PlayStation has like, 3 games? Spider-Man, Wolverine, and whatever Cory Barlog's working on. Yup, that's it. And that's supposed to last the rest of the generation. The PlayStation 5 Pro isn't even out yet. They don't have no games. How are they supposed to survive? Off of third-party stuff? That's not going to do it. They'll survive. But it's going to be slim pickings, and it's going to be, this right now, what's happening right now is harming the brand of PlayStation in a way that I would have never thought that this would be happening, but here we are. And is it irreversible? I don't think so. I mean, if they do the right things, sure, they could probably get there. But like I said before, like way before, this is going to take Sony so much time to get back to being on top. I don't think this is all Microsoft has to do. This is all that Xbox has to do. All Xbox has to do is create a product that everyone wants. That's it. If they come out with a handheld and it's crazy dope nice, it's like, yo, you gotta get it. It's just a no-brainer. You gotta get it. And here's another thing that I think is happening. That Phil, like I said, they playing 69D chess, man. Y'all don't know. I think Phil said a while ago in an interview, a couple months ago, I guess. He said the era is paraphrasing. He said the era of subsidizing consoles is over. He says, I think the era of subsidizing consoles is over. We gotta charge for what we're doing, basically. That's what he's saying. I think he said that in order to goad or lead Sony PlayStation into not subsidizing anymore, charging for those consoles, which is why we have a $699 stripped down PlayStation 5 Pro. $850 if you want to include all the stuff. $810 plus tax. And so I think what'll happen, hopefully, if this does happen, this will be genius. I think they're still going to subsidize. I think Xbox will subsidize the next console, but that might be the last one. But I think they're going to do that in order to get back on top, meaning, to sell their hardware. Also, I don't think they'll need to subsidize as much because with the AI, I was thinking about this, like they could basically make a I guess comparable to the power of the Xbox Series S, but with, the modern CPUs and such, faster speeds, whatever, maybe more memory. But with the AI upscaling and whatever else they're going to use the AI for, they could save money because they don't have to put all of the silicon into the APU. They can use these NPUs to bolster the graphics, so they don't have to go 52 cores or whatever, 52 CUs in the or maybe they do and they just keep it there status quo so that when that price goes down, so the AI chips may offset some of the other things that they would have to put in. I don't know. I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, that might be why. I mean, you think about like the next Nintendo Switch, it's gonna be semi-powerful, maybe PlayStation 4, they say, or something like that. Xbox Series S, or I don't know. And then they'll do the upscaling to make it look good. And so I think going forward, that's going to be like the model for these consoles in order to keep the prices somewhat reasonable. And like I said, I think the smart move for Xbox would be to subsidize these last two consoles, the handheld and the home joint, and then just to get up a bunch of people to get those numbers up. Even though that's not what their overall business model is, it's still a good look, and it's still as far as the hearts and minds of gamers, it's important. It's important to have that presence. You don't have to be blowing away the competition, but you have to destroy the narrative of, oh, it's selling 10-1, blah blah blah, 2-1 here, 10-1 here, 12-1 here, 5-1, all this. I'm like, and that's the last thing. I still think that Sony is full of shite because how can you have 62 million and nobody's buying your games? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And you look at the people playing online, it doesn't make sense. And they said, I forgot what the article it was. They said, oh yeah, it was 50-50 split between PS4 and PS5. And they were saying, oh, we got 60 million. But meanwhile, it's 49 million consoles connected. So I'm like, what's going on? Why are these? Where's the discrepancy in these numbers? We could do math. It's simple math. Why is this? So I don't believe what Sony says. The proof is in the unit sales, meaning game unit sales. The proof is in MAUs. And all those things are a little sus. So, a little low. Just saying, these games ain't selling like they should be. Anyway, I appreciate you showing like and subscribe. Let's pour one out for your homie Concord. They're done. Hope everybody from Firewalk gets a job somewhere, because they're pretty good animators, I tell you what. I mean, Sony they should have just used them as a support studio for whatever other game, for Fair Game, $, whatever. They should have done that, but I guess Fair Games is going to be good on its own, right? I guess Jade Raymond don't got no problems. Whatever, it don't matter. Anyway, I appreciate. I'll talk to you on the next one. Till the wait.